Mariko, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome to the podcast. This is Make Music All Day Long. So happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
This is the first episode for Make Music All Day Long. Mariko, she's a great artist, singer, songwriter, and we met through LASC, isn't that right?
Online, did this video call. It was so funny because I was looking for producers that could speak Spanish, and he was like, I'm Victor, I live in Mexico City, and like the song, you could add a song to this list before you joined the thing. And
that's correct.
I noticed there was one where someone was singing in Spanish, and I was like, oh, I bet that's the one he produced.
Yeah.
And then we didn't actually get to talk
at
the event, but I took his information, and then I hit him up because I was going to go to Mexico. And I think a few months from then, or maybe the following year.
No, that was the same year.
Yeah.
That was during April, I think. Mm-hmm. Then we met in October or September.
Yeah.
Great experience, really fun. I joined LASC a few years ago. I want to say 2017, but I'm glad we joined. I'm glad we got to get to know each other.
Yeah.
And really, this podcast is all about music. I want to explore more in depth about what drives artists to create, what drives them to write the song that they do. We've been doing some awesome songs, and the way you've handled to choose the songs, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I met my boyfriend, Beto,
Mr.
a couple of years ago, and he got me really into like ranchera music, boleros, and I just really fell in love with the sound because it's very different from what you hear in the United States. I grew up born and raised in the United States, very American, so our music is very different. I feel like, especially ranchera music specifically, you hear like a lot of trumpets, and then they use guitar differently. Yeah, the string instruments are different, just the way that they're used, but I really fell in love with the sound. And typically I like hip hop and R&B, and I don't know, one day I was just like listening to one of my favorite artists, like Amy Winehouse, and I had previously been listening to something by Pedro Infante, and I was like, these could work together. And then that just started me on this journey of trying to figure out how I could like modernize some traditional songs, but then also just loving the way they sounded, doing some original covers as well. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I love Amy Winehouse. I visited the UK in 2018. There's a really cool statue of her in this market. It's a flea market. Don't remember the name. Very famous. But ever since, I've been tracing down her legacy, really. And when you came up with this idea of mixing one of her songs with one of the classics, what song was it? Do you remember?
In hers, it was I'm No Good.
Yeah. Crazy mix. And we nailed it. I think we did a great job with the vocals. How long have you been into music? Tell me more about your upbringing.
Oh, yeah. So growing up, I actually played guitar for 10 years.
Guitar?
And then I stopped when I went to college. So I went to college in California, but I grew up in Delaware on the East Coast. So it was pretty far. And it was one of those things like that I kind of sacrificed, which I like regret now because I'm like, wow, this would help me so much nowadays. But yeah, so I would take guitar lessons, and that was my introduction to like music. And I did take piano, but I wasn't really serious about it. My mom would make me practice, and I wasn't into my focus was guitar. I thought it was just really cool. And my mom was really into classic rock growing up, so I listened to a lot of the Beatles. Beatles. My favorite album by them is Revolver.
Wow.
But
the White Album for me.
Yeah, a lot of people like that one. That one's a good one.
It's a classic.
But yeah, I stopped playing it in college, and I was on track to do like politics, international relations, but then like halfway through college, I just realized that I wanted to get back into music.
Nice.
Growing up, both of my parents were really into music, but just as like listening, Dad was really into Earth, Wind and Fire, Michael Jackson. My mom was really into the Beatles, classic rock, like the Eagles, and so in college, I was like, okay, I don't want to go that like very, I don't know, just straightforward route of office job, doing something that
especially in LA, it's such a vibrant city.
And I was in LA. I was surrounded by people that were trying to do music and doing it, and that really inspired me. So it was really after college where I started taking the leaps, because I was like, okay, I don't want to do this, but I want to do something creative. So I was like working, and then like after work, I would take 2 buses to go to the studio, so like work with this one guy, and that's when I made like my first like song in a studio. Wow. It was like right after I graduated.
How long was this ago?
This was in 2019.
Wow.
2019 was when I graduated college.
So that was a year you decided to start recording. And
Yeah,
you're gonna
exactly.
start making music.
But before that, like my whole life, I've been writing. Like when I was in elementary school, I actually wanted to be an author. And then when you're little, you want to be like an actor or a singer. So I did want to be a singer, which is so funny because like now I actually write professionally, and I'm doing like singing and stuff and like music.
Of course,
my
it just makes sense.
So, yeah, it all worked out, but that was a very short version of the journey. But
Well, it's a great journey.
yeah.
Every artist that I speak to, they tell me about other artists that they look up to, their inspiration, or
Yeah.
people that somehow taught them something, either musically or how to write their lyrics, or how the stories impact their lives.
Yeah.
To you, for you, who is that artist that almost reflects the sonic quality that you're looking for?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I obviously already know this. I love Amy Winehouse. She's probably like one of my biggest inspirations. I think like her Back to Black album is like super amazing, but like her whole catalog of work is fantastic. My favorite is definitely like the Back to Black album, and on that I actually like a lot of different songs. But even her first album, Frank, like even the way it was named Frank, because her personality was being frank.
Oh,
she was direct, and her lyrics are very direct.
I
They
didn't know
just
that.
tell you the story the way it is. So like,
Right, here it
so
is.
yeah, so like with you, I've been doing like Spanish covers and stuff, but I work with John, this other producer that we both also know.
John makes songs.
And for that, I do my music in English and I write it. And a lot of times, like when I'm trying to write, I try to channel that like very directness. A lot of people try to be very like, I don't know, they have hidden meanings in there. There's nothing wrong with that, but I like just being like very straightforward. And I'm like, okay, this is what happened. And
Right.
like, you're going to hear the story like, and the details of it. And I really am inspired by the way she writes in that way.
Do you feel her stories reflect on your life?
Not so much, but I think some of them are like general enough, like about like love, for example, that they could be applicable to a lot of people's lives. I do know she was battling a lot of demons though, so maybe some of the stuff she was actually like alluding to or talking about in her music is not, doesn't align with my personal life, but so I do feel like I see the way I write a lot is inspired by definitely how she wrote her lyrics and
Gotcha.
her music.
And what about your fears or your traumas? Or maybe you talk about certain topics in your music.
Yeah.
How do you channel that energy into your songs?
Yeah, I feel like with my own experiences, that's when I really try to talk about in my music in English. And I try to just give literally my story, what happened. Like, I think a lot of artists, they'll try to make it like broad enough that a lot of people can maybe relate to like some part. But I'm just like, no, this is my story. You're going to hear it the way it happened. And like, maybe you can relate to some parts, but like, this is exactly how it is. I definitely think that it's about being fearless, like not having fear.
And I can tell you're fearless without a doubt, because on one side it's this hardcore hip hop music, but then you're not afraid of coming out and saying, I'm going to do these covers in Spanish.
Yeah.
And
Challenge.
that's a challenge.
Yeah.
How did you decide, I'm going to start doing this?
Yeah, originally, actually, I had the idea to give Beto a present. So this was like the first, what we originally had made was like this EP, but now it's going to be singles, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
But, so it was this collection of songs. It was just like a love story and almost a thank you to him for introducing me to a lot of that music.
To
and,
the
like,
rancheras?
yeah, and like just really showing me like the stuff that he enjoyed and just taking that, because I usually only write for myself, and so these are covers, so obviously I wasn't writing them, but like it was the first time I really made something musically for someone else. And I think that's what made it different, and that's what made it like really special. But I was still like channeling my emotions, but in a different way. So when I write in English, I'm like literally channeling like my experiences and what happened, but I can do that through words. Whereas in Spanish, like that's not my first language, so I try to bring the emotion out through my voice. So like when we were making that, like it was the first time I took like professional voice lessons.
Wow.
So I think 6 months leading up to recording those songs with you, I started every other week I was meeting with like a vocal coach, because I was like, okay, I want to change these songs up, but I have to do it the right way, because like they're all typically by male artists who have naturally probably deeper voices.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think these will actually sound really good as like in a higher range, like a higher pitch. And so that's what we worked on for a long time. But I was like, but I want my emotion to show, since sometimes like I have to really break down the lyrics in Spanish because I'm like, it's different when you know a language, but like you hear music in another language. It's like a completely different skill. Like, you actually have to train it.
True.
So yeah, so learning those lyrics and then trying to really express that through my voice and training my vocals to meet those emotions, I think was also the biggest challenge there.
It is a big challenge. I would say learning Spanish is more difficult than learning English. For the most part, English, it's an international language nowadays.
Yeah.
You have to know it in order for you to succeed in the world.
Yeah.
But Spanish, there's quite a few people who speak it through the whole world. You got anywhere from Spain to Argentina.
Yeah, exactly.
So many countries.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, first and foremost, there's so many artists out there in Spanish that they do crazy things. For the classics, Pedro Infante you just mentioned with Cien Años, that's my favorite song, Cheras.
Beautiful song.
All the way to now Alejandro Fernandez, up to Natanael Cano,
Yeah.
Peso Pluma. So I feel like Mexican artists are really making a difference with music. And it's really cool that you're jumping into this world of music.
Yeah.
Who would you imagine yourself like opening a show for, let's say, another artist?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh my God. There is this up and coming guy based in Miami named, I think it's Jason Joshua.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. He has
Jason?
a song.
Oh.
It's called La Vida es Fría. It's like he does it, it's in English and Spanish. I'd see him like doing big things in the future.
Wow.
I think his sound is very similar to the sound I'm going for in the future. It's not where I'm at right now, but I can see myself trying to, because I really like for example, this song, he uses both English and Spanish, and it's not this, and it reminds me of old school. The production is like, you'll hear it. It's really good.
Oh, nice.
And I think he has a great voice.
Since 6'8". This kind of reminds me of, I forgot his name, Daniel Caesar.
Daniel Caesar, yeah. I know he's got a little bit of controversy.
Really?
Recently. His voice is amazing.
Yeah.
I love his music, though. But yeah, I would open for this guy for sure.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
Jason
definitely
Joshua,
going to check him
coming
out.
for you. I will be looking for you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's cool. I love this music. It's R&B. I think this R&B. I hate tagging or classifying genres
Yeah.
across all flavors of music, but you have to just to identify what it is. It's a ballad, 6/8, with rhythm guitar, vocals. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, and the lyrics are actually very simple, but they say so much. It's La vida es fría, the world can be so cold. Like, that just says a lot right there.
Yeah, of course. I love what he said. What it says, Miami soul man takes a different approach with the heart-wrenching mid-tempo towards song La vida es fría. I wonder if this is made with GPT.
Maybe. My job is actually to write stuff that's like
Really?
that sounds like sometimes like in the beginning it's like a beautiful piece of written work.
Right.
And then it goes to 10 executive level people and then it comes out to this robotic sounding description of something, which is
it's the art of copywriting.
Yeah. Really.
So what happens in your world, let's say from 9 to 5, you're this top level executive in the branding industry, and then after 5 you're this upcoming artist with amazing songs. How do you merge yourself into these different worlds? How do you manage yourself?
Yeah, so I typically keep a very strict schedule. Right now I'm like on vacation because I'm hanging out in Mexico City and I'll do my thing.
Right.
But yeah, I usually keep this schedule, and the morning is for maybe my own self-studying. Like, I'm doing this Japanese thing right now where I'm trying to learn Japanese. So in the morning, I dedicate time to like other things. You know what I mean? And then I start my work day. So in the morning, I might work out. I might study a little bit of Japanese. I do my first round of vocal exercises. So that's anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah, I do it twice a day. I haven't been doing it lately because I'm on vacation. I'm not on vacation. I keep saying that, and I feel like I'm like working, but I'm visiting Beto, so I'm on vacation.
Yeah, you're on vacation.
But yeah, so 30
It's the
minutes to an
summer,
hour, and then I live with roommates because I live in LA and it's super expensive. So I actually practice my vocals in my car because I'm like the first person up in my apartment because everyone else is like they get up at 8:30 or something. I'm getting up at 5:15, 6.
Oh wow!
It's like it's ridiculous, but I must do it if I want to get everything done right. So then I work, and working I think has actually been really helpful for like writing and stuff, because like at work I'm getting criticized constantly, and it's like a constructive criticism. So you come in, you think you're like this fantastic writer, you've gone to a good school, you practice all the time, and then you just come in here and all these people are like, no, we're gonna rewrite this whole thing. And so I think that's given me more patience with my writing.
Right.
And before, when I would write music, like I would one and done, I would be like, okay, I'll give myself 30 minutes to write the song and then that's it. But now I like actually go back and I'm like, okay, I can change this line. Like it's given me more, I give myself more permission to like edit things now.
Right,
and I think my job has actually really helped me with that. It's like the first thing is usually not always perfect. Sometimes with music though, like you can just shoot something out and you're like, wow, this is great. And it's just like one take. And that does happen. And I think a lot of my best work actually is like that.
Of course.
But as I'm improving, as I'm trying to pump out more songs, I think it's that being able to criticize myself and be like, okay, how can I improve this? That's been really helpful. And then after work, that's when I usually focus on this. So I do my second round of vocal exercises.
Nice.
And then before I talk to Beto, I might because we talk every night, long distance.
That's great. That's the key to a good relationship, communication.
Yeah, but before we talk, like I'm working on music stuff. So I might be writing more lyrics. I might have a meeting with John, for example, about like the production for something I'm working on. And then like on the weekends, I do try to like keep my weekends for friends, but also like on Sundays, I do meet with one girl and we like co-write together.
Nice.
So it's more like I'm really just trying to take advantage of my free time and use that time to like really put my energy into like my hobbies and things I'm passionate about and like music. Hopefully it won't be just my hobby in the future, but
hopefully
now it's just taking advantage of my free time and doing what I can outside of that 9 to 5. Yeah.
That's great because once you establish a routine, you're disciplined about it. I feel like that's the best way for you to extract the best out of every minute.
Yeah.
I agree. The best songs that I've done or that I've seen other people do come out of just working consistently. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday afternoon or a Monday. As long as you keep writing, it's not like the inspiration will gift you with this dozen of beautiful songs. Like you may do 100 songs and maybe 90 are trash.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have to keep working towards like making your craft perfect.
Yeah.
Or if you could say just not perfect, but maybe just being consistent outtakes anything else.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, that I totally agree with you. I think, and like I went to this LAFC event actually, and Judy Stakey, she's like this.
Oh yeah, I know her.
And,
I know who she is.
Yeah, and she was like, and one of the things I took away from her speaking, and she's got like years of industry experience.
Yeah.
But
is she in LA?
I think so. I think she might be. I'm pretty sure, but I'm like 90% sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm on her newsletter.
But yeah, same. But the thing that she said was like, you can have all the talent in the world, but you have to have the songs. Yeah. Like you can't go, like you can say I'm the best singer, I'm the best writer, but if you don't actually have any songs recorded, nobody's going to take you seriously. And I think I had been in the studio like recording before that, but I think that really helps me be like, okay, like I have to really buckle down and like work on my craft and improve. And that's when I started doing those co-writing sessions with my friend on Sundays and just meeting with people consistently and like adding it to my daily schedule consistently.
Oh yeah.
After work, I'm going to work on
That's just going to compound through the years.
Exactly. And even if it's 10 minutes to write a couple of lines, like anything helps. Like you're not going to have a couple of hours every single other people like you. It's like your full-time job. Yeah. But I'm working a different 9 to 5. So I'm not going to be able to spend time on music from 9 to 5. Right. So I've got to find that time. But even if it's that tiny little bit, it does add up. Yeah.
Then what happens to music producers is that we do our 9 to 5 doing music or maybe other things, because then artists sometimes they have their 9 to 5s and the only times available to meet with them is after 5.
Yeah.
So we still have to allocate some time after 5 to these
I
artists.
was thinking about that. And like when I meet with my producer, it's usually on like Saturday or like at night. So I can only imagine how different that must be.
But yeah, we have to leverage other skills as well. For music producers trying to make it, I always say you have to get the work done and you have to get other things done as well. If you can get another job, that's fine. You have to support yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the same applies to you as an artist. You have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So that's just understandable. And I think There's other ways to get money. If you could start singing, you could get some gigs for
Yeah.
weddings.
Consistent gigs.
I don't know. There's so many ways you can make money, but as long as you stay true to your goal, and maybe it changes during the years, and that's fine. As long as you're true to what you believe in, I think that's the greatest thing that you can do. How do you see yourself in the following, let's say, 5 years? What do you want to accomplish in the following years?
Yeah. Okay, right now, I think you've mentioned this before, but I work in branding. And there's like sonic branding, like you can go in like music branding basically.
Yeah.
And so I would like to like take some steps to like shift into that industry. It's like the same industry, but it's more just like a
niche.
part of the industry, you know?
Music.
But it's still branding. It's just music branding. And I think that would also help me in what I'm doing outside of work. Like, it would be nice if by then I'm making, like, money off of, like, music or something, that I wouldn't have to do that. But thinking more realistically, like, I live in LA, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world. And in my country, it's, like, one of the most expensive cities. And, like, I'm, like, in my mid-20s. I haven't been in the workforce for 15 plus years, so I don't have that salary of someone that's, like, super high level. So I gotta be realistic about, like, my next steps. And even right now, like, a portion of my paycheck I like put aside for music stuff to pay my producers and like to pay for voice lessons and stuff. Yeah, so thinking long term, not long term, I guess 5 years is not more short term, but I still expect myself to have a 9 to 5, but I'm hoping it's more in line with what I'm doing outside of work right now. So branding and music combined. And then after that, maybe just like music alone. Like,
of course.
But also being in branding has helped because it's hard applying anything to yourself, but it's helped me understand more about like the branding aspect, which is super important when you're trying to be like, yeah, exactly. When you're trying to be a musician, when you want people to remember you, your brand is like one of the most important things.
Sure.
So
it is the most important thing. Have you found any struggles throughout the way, like coming up with a name for your career as an artist, or even the songs? Like, what are those challenges and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I feel like in the beginning, before I moved to LA and I was just writing songs for fun without any knowledge of production or any of that, like, I was convinced that I had to know 6 instruments so I could do all of it myself. I think we like talked about this before because like you had the same experience, like just like I have to do everything by myself, and I just didn't know who to ask for help.
Sure.
And there weren't a lot of resources where I was from. If you want to get into music, you have to move to a city. Yeah. It's next to impossible to get a following. I don't even think we have a studio within an hour of my house at home. So moving to Los Angeles is like really what kind of opened the gates of opportunity for me because
that's great.
Yeah, I had no idea going into it. But then when I got there, like, I went to UCLA, and UCLA is like fantastic with their programs. Obviously, they make so much money, but like, people like me. But yeah, so there was this music studio place, and you could rent out equipment.
In UCLA?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, wow. Students can do it. So UCLA students, if you're listening to this, like Studio 22, you can rent out music stuff for free, and it's a fantastic resource. And that was really awesome. So just like experimenting with stuff like that, like seeing what I could find for free. Sure. On campus, like when I was young. And then after that, just learning as I go. Because like also before when I started working with producers, I would just give them like too much information. Like, I'm very detailed in what I send you, but I would send 50 reference tracks. They would be like, I don't know what you want. You send me too many things. And then I would get frustrated because I'm like, how am I supposed to communicate the vision to you? And like, and that's, so then over time I just learned to, okay, what is the most important thing? And I think that it's just like failing a couple of times or a lot of times.
Yeah,
and then
of course.
Like learning as you go.
It's a process for sure. What I enjoy the most by working with an artist is having them come into the studio and just plot down a song together. I feel like if I hand you out a beat or a tune that you can jump over and start singing some melodies, that's the best way to get the song done. Of course, there's other ways. With the pandemic, it was obvious that there was producers in other states of the country, and you would send them music, or even Gus, I'm in Mexico City now, and you're in LA, you send me over the tracks, and of course you have to explain it somehow. But I feel like there's nothing like having the artist in the same room with a guitar, with a piano, or even with, as I said, a beat or some kind of loop, and just work on that. Yeah. How do you prefer to work? Is it like have like the way we've been doing it, or as I described?
Yeah, I've done both. And one thing that's helped me with my consistent like songwriting sessions with my friend is like in the beginning, like we've changed up how we do things, but in the beginning for 6 months, every Sunday, we would both just bring 3 beats and we would put a timer on for 20 minutes for each one. And we would just have to write. And so I think that experience helps me
Like
being
limiting
able
yourself.
to do, so it doesn't matter if you come up with the shittiest line ever, like just write it. Because then like at the end of that 20 minutes, when the timer went off, we actually had to sing to each other like what we had just written.
So both of you worked by yourselves?
So we would bring our own beats from like YouTube or something,
Right.
like literally like hip hop type beat or something, right? And then like in that 20 minutes we'd do it. But now, so after that, so that was in the beginning, and we've been doing this for like over a year now. And now we're at this point where we're like, okay, like let's work on a chorus to this beat, and then we talk about it, and we're like, okay, like which line sounds better, which melody sounds better. And now it's a lot more collaborative. But we needed that initial period of just like writing things out just to like get it out of your system and get rid of that anxiety. Because I think a lot of writers, what they struggle with is like they want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
The first thing that they write, and you just got to get over that. Like, and that just takes practice. That takes like writing a lot of, like you said, you can write 100 songs and 90 of them can be like really bad.
Yeah.
But it's just really getting that practice in and just doing it over and over again. But now we have that confidence where we can like put out stuff or we can come up with stuff together. And so I think both processes I've been able to work with just because I've been able to practice both. Like been practicing by writing with other people, and then I've also been practicing like on my own, which is pretty much how I've written since I was little.
Other songwriters, what I see them do is they have a list of titles, and they have this 100 or 200, 300 list of titles, different titles. Your Eyes, Green, Shadow, Keyboard, like whatever titles they come up with, and then they'll choose that theme for the song. I find that very interesting.
Yeah.
Is that something you do?
I've never done that before. I feel like I have to write the song first, usually.
You just go with the music.
And then after that, I'm like, okay, like, what's the main idea? And then I, like, go from there. Also, a part of my 9-to-5 job is actually, like, naming things.
Oh.
So it's not just copywriting and writing descriptions. Like, sometimes
Like product?
a soda company will come to us and be like, okay, we're going to come out with this, I don't know, blueberry soda. Which is, I'm like making that up. But and they're like, okay, you have to use the word blue, and you have to use like the letter X. They have these like really complicated like requirements. So then you're coming up with, and you have to come up with 100 to 200 names that fit those requirements. So it's actually really complicated. But yeah, so now I feel like I pay attention to like how important that name can be.
Sure.
And I think there's merit to writing it first, because you're like, okay, this is an attention grabber. People will see this. So how can I make this into a song? But I prefer to just have the song laid out and then and I personally don't like when a song has like a name that has nothing to do with the actual song, unless it's like funny or something. Like, I think there's this, there's this alternative rap band, and they have all of these like weird titles that are super long, and I can't think of who they are right now, but like one of theirs is our lawyer wouldn't let us write this song or something.
Let's see if we can find it.
Our lawyer made us change the name of this song so we wouldn't.
Boy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's funny. Like the song is, but when if your song is about something completely different, like usually I don't like it, but you can make it creative. That's memorable. That's cool. You can still find it.
That is true.
But otherwise, if you're gonna name your song something like Blue Eyes, but then the whole song is not talking about that at all, then I'm not really gonna find this song.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
These guys have this amazing song. It's called Dead on Arrival. But always more musical than anything else. There's songs that I don't remember a lyric at all. I'm very sensitive to the sounds.
Oh, okay.
I noticed the plane right now. There's so many things I notice because I'm very sensitive to sounds. So mostly pay attention to that. Yeah. But as a songwriter, of course, you have to pay attention to the lyrics.
Yeah.
I love writing songs, though. To me, I feel like writing the melodies that comes very natural to me. What about you? Are you more of a melody maker or a song with the lyrics?
Yeah, but it's funny because there was like a before I lived in LA and then there was after I lived in LA. And like before I lived in LA, like when I was growing up, like I would just write out the like lyrics that I wanted.
Yeah.
Not realizing that I could like put a melody to them. Like I would have an idea in my head of what I wanted.
Gotcha.
For production. Like I was saying, I thought you had to play a bunch of instruments yourself. So I didn't even know that you could literally just put up like hip hop type beat on YouTube and then just write your lyrics to that. I didn't learn that until like in college.
Yeah.
And, which is like so obvious now, but there was nobody around me that was doing music. So this is you really had to just like, do your own research, teach yourself. But
that
like
is crazy, honestly.
Yeah, but so now I'll bring up a beat and I'll write, and then it's easier for me if I have a beat that's made.
Yeah.
Then the melody will come to me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so
I discovered this thing like 3 years ago, and I've been producing songs for a while now.
Yeah.
But to me, it's very important creating like a riff, almost like a riff or a theme, musically speaking.
Yeah.
Once you come up with that line or that harmony that ensembles a few melodies, then I feel like I did my job as a producer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because, this is great for songwriting, honestly. It takes all the pressure out of producing the track.
Exactly.
And then you can start working on the lyrics, and then you can just produce it however you want, which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Complete sense.
And it's been easier to like, because now like when I use like a beat from online, then I can give that to my producer and go, this is the sound that I'm going for with a couple of reference tracks. And then that it makes it so like the process, it's faster.
Yeah.
It's more assemblable. It's so much easier. So I think like I prefer to work that way.
True.
I think it is really cool when people can just be like, okay, I want the guitar to sound like this. And they like have the notes and stuff. I think that's like super cool. But I do not have knowledge of music theory. It's really just like by ear and like the sound that I'm like, okay, this is how I want my melody to sound. So then I'll just like, and like for me also, I think like demos that I send producers, and I've told you about this before, as long as they get the idea, for me a demo doesn't have to sound professional. I'm just trying to give them the idea of like how I want it to sound or where I want it to go, and we can go from there. And I think a lot of writers and singers also get stuck on creating a perfect demo.
Yeah.
And like literally the demo, like you're giving the producer or the people you're working with an idea of like where you want to go.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's people will spend like months on it. Like you can spend months on a demo, but like they'll be spending months like trying to make it perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your final product you want to make perfect. Your demo is to give you the idea. So.
I learned a lot from the startup companies and the industry. Like the full Silicon Valley industry teaches us a lot about launching fast products. And in tech, you have to launch something really fast so you can prove that it works. And then if it doesn't, you pivot and you change a little, you tweak it till you make it perfect. They even say if you launched your product so perfect, it was too late already. So
that makes sense.
Bringing that concept to the music industry, I think it just makes complete sense. You have to be able to write the song in one session, get the demo done the next day or in a few hours, maybe in half an hour. That doesn't matter. You just need the idea. And then you start working on the production as fast as you can. Once you have that song ready, you mix it, you master it. Of course, you're maybe 3-4 days in already, but now it's done. And now you can start working on the next one. And then also I always say, just launch the damn song.
Yeah.
Nobody cares anyway, unless you bring people's attention, unless you do some promo, you market it. Unless you play live, unless you do things to make people aware of what you just did.
Yeah.
But you have to launch damn songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more of my approach. And it's lovely when I listen to any new artist. Even when I discovered Karim Leon, he's been in the game for long now, but now he's big. He's like really big. He has this country-ish sound to his music, but in Spanish, right?
Yeah. Very cool.
He's a great artist, and he's one of these examples. It's like J Balvin. He was one of the ones who first started this trend. Let's launch one song every 2-3 days. It's insane somehow.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, I know a couple of like Dave, the rapper.
Yeah,
he did one song a week.
It's
for
crazy.
like almost a year.
I mean,
maybe 6 months. That's a lot.
And I see the good parts about it. Be fearless. Just launch the music.
Yeah.
but on the other side, it takes away the beauty of crafting the product. So you have to balance it.
Yeah. I found that I've actually been enjoying like coming up with ideas that will all come together for releasing those songs. But I do definitely think you're right. Like at some point you just have to, you gotta let it go. You gotta release it.
That's how I usually start my session. I just throw some chords and I see where that goes. I'd really love to finish this podcast just reflecting on the path that you're coming up with and where you're going. I'd love to hear if there's any suggestions or tips or tricks you'd love to share for other people who are starting.
Yeah, I would say you have to have a plan. A lot of people say they want to do things, but if you don't plan it out, it's probably not going to happen. It's more like a pipe dream. If you want to say you want to be a doctor, there's steps to get there. If you want to do something that's more creative, going into music or something, like it's going to be a little bit more difficult, and networking is super important. Like meeting people is probably one of the most important things that's helped me along the way.
True.
But you need to set up like goals for yourself and like a timeline, a realistic timeline.
Even like tiny steps.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not gonna, I don't know, sell out an arena in your first 30 days of doing music. And I feel like that's maybe very exaggerated, but there's some people that are like, it's all or nothing. I'm going to be big in a year, and that doesn't happen. The people that we see that go viral, for example, like some of them truly go viral when they weren't planning it. Other people, like they've been working on their craft for a long time, years, and now you're seeing the fruition of that.
True.
So there's so many artists that I could name that were working on music before they like got big. And even the people that you see now, like Rosalia was very niche before she
flamenco.
Exactly. Like her first album was very traditional flamenco. Like,
true.
And now she's got, I mean, it's just like all over the place. There's flamenco, but there's also hip hop.
Yeah.
There's also pop. So I think
and Pharrell did a great job with her too.
Yeah, and I think she really knows her stuff. Like, I'm always impressed by her music. But yeah, like even artists like that are big, they started somewhere. They didn't start. And I think especially in her case, I think she was on like a music show or something, and she didn't win. And then she like went to school for music. Like, and so then over the years she was like,
she's really into it.
Yeah. And not just her, just like so many artists out there, they started from nothing and they had a plan. They set goals for themselves. They networked with people.
True.
And I think those are like very important steps. And no one is going to, it's not going to happen magically. You have to put in the work. You have to practice.
Yeah.
And I think like it's really important to practice. You really have to like just keep constantly working and honing your craft. Even when you get an audience, you need to be still like working
preparing
and
yourself.
Practicing. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Success comes when opportunity meets preparation, they say.
I like that. Success comes with when opportunities meets preparation.
Yeah.
I love that.
So if you're prepared and the opportunity comes, great. But if the opportunity comes and you're not ready, if you don't have the songs.
In Spanish, we say que la suerte te agarre trabajando. Algo así, ¿no? Que la suerte te agarre trabajando.
La suerte te agarra trabajando.
Que la suerte te agarre trabajando. Yeah, okay. That's pretty much it. That luck meets you working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like your chance will probably come, but if you're not ready for it, then that's it. That was your chance. So
that's
just keeping that in mind. Yeah.
How do we find you?
Oh my goodness, yes. You can find me on Instagram, Mariko Daisey, MarikoDaisey.
Nice.
And you can probably also find me on YouTube. I will be putting out music in the next month. So
yes,
you'll see by September, hopefully you will see my first single out.
This is 2023.
Yes.
We're recording August 2nd, so you'll probably see this in the following days. So if you see this in September, you can already go and search for her music. But until then, please go give her a follow and stay ready for her new release.
Thank you so much.
Mariko, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us at Make Music All Day Long.
Thanks for having me.
I hope we can do the second episode soon.
Maybe in Los Angeles.
And maybe in Los Angeles. Yes, we'll do. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
That was awesome.